Hello all, Marty here. Welcome to Warehouse and Operations as a Career, to a new quarter and a new year and all the new opportunities I know they're bringing with them. I thought we'd do a quick recap of last quarter's shows and talk about a subject that's came up 2 or 3 times recently, which is human nature in the workplace. I hope you had a great 2016 and I'm sure you're ready to tackle 2017. I know I am, and my plans are to change the things I can and knock down any barriers in my way. We had a lot of fun last quarter, and we've covered a lot of ground and information. I thought as we work our way on through the warehouse and its many positions, we should discuss or review where we've been and where we're going. We spoke with Mike, I believe it was episode 11. He'd spent about 26 years with the same company, performing 4 different tasks or positions within 3 different departments, even ventured into supervision for a little bit, and landing, followed by his passion for maintenance, back to the job or task that he loved in facilities maintenance. We had Joe visit with us on safety. He's held several positions across 3 facilities, coming from the military into production, then to distribution, into management, and now pursuing his safety certifications and instructor qualifications. We've spoken with Rodrigo, coming from a totally unrelated career, coming up through general labor in the warehouse world to receiving, heading up several departments, and now a regional manager with something like, I believe it was 8 or 10 facilities, around 13 supervisors, and about 150 employees that he actually oversees. The common denominator being all these men started their careers as warehouse general labor. We've discussed some of the warehouse procedures like GOPs and SOPs. We hit on preferred work methods. John, a recruiter, was nice enough to walk us through the recruiting process, and we learned the many types of resumes, their purpose, and how to put them together and control our interview and feel much more comfortable with the process, I hope. We've learned a bit about sanitation and unloading, 2 great general labor positions we can use to get our feet firmly on the ground in a warehouse. I hope we all enjoyed the interview with Abraham as he shared his story with us and how he became an unloading manager running his team at a large distribution facility. We recently was introduced to order selecting, discussed the basics, and we'll be speaking with a few selectors in an upcoming episode. I'm really looking forward to hearing their ideas and comments about the position. Although we've only really touched on production warehouse or the production world, I believe we look deeply enough to understand the different opportunities it can bring us. Oh yeah, we discussed the facility orientation, and I hope we learned its importance and possibly how to coach our supervisor to share all of the interest that we have in the orientation process. I hope the recurring theme here at WAOC has been picked up on, that being that what separates a job and a career is really each of us as individuals. I believe with all my heart that a job, if we love what we're doing, it's a great thing. If it can take care of our families and we're good at it, it's perfectly fine to settle in and be the absolute best at it. But if we want more, to stay challenged, to accept more responsibility and make more money, then we are responsible to educate ourselves, kind of push ourselves and continuously strive for more opportunities from our peers and our managers. Thinking that way and feeling that way turns the job into a career, right? We're in this for the long haul. I've heard people say that the workplace has changed over the years or that companies no longer really strive for long-lasting employment, but in my opinion, truly, that's just pure bunk. I'm not sure why anyone would think that way. Think about it. Training is expensive. Burning through employees is not efficient. I can give you probably like 50 examples right now of employees I know that have been with companies upwards of 20 years and are planning on retiring from them. Yes, without getting into economic reasoning, the politics involved, mergers or Wall Street objectives, there are, occasionally reductions within the workforce, layoffs and possibly department closings, but that honestly has little, if anything, to do with what we're talking about. We're after a career. We're on a course or a path here. We're committed to being that employee that participates, engages with the job, and learns the next step as we've mastered each task that's given to us. Working with and using management, if you will, for the education we need through experiences. I believe no matter what happens within a company or a corporation, that the employees that are producing and growing with the company doing a great job for our management team is going to be the one that's held on to at all costs. It only makes sense. Now, we do have some responsibilities ourselves. We need to grow personally and professionally. Remember, working for a check each week is perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't take a lot of additional effort from us on a daily or a weekly basis, but we need to accept that's what we've chosen to do. Now, on the other hand, if we continue our learning, growing our experiences, raising our hand at every opportunity, doing that extra task and wanting that next step, participating with our peers and management teams, I believe that's the individual that will be noticed. Time and teaching will be spent with us, and our strengths and goals will become our employers, right? Something I hear from both new managers or supervisors as well as seasoned members of management is how they deal with, and sometimes don't deal well with, is human nature. They may not always use the words human nature, but it's expressed with our actions, our moods, and words in so many different ways. I personally refer to human nature and too many times blaming it as an obstacle to accomplishing a task. I was asked by a young lead, what did I mean by human nature? I couldn't really answer that question. To kind of quote one of our Supreme Court justices, I just know it when I see it. Wikipedia.org prints that human nature refers to the distinguishing characteristics, including ways of thinking, feeling, and acting which humans tend to have naturally. Merriam-Webster.com says, the nature of humans, especially the fundamental dispositions and traits of humans. Examples in a sentence, you can't change human nature. It's interesting that it states the first known use of human nature was in 1594. The definition of human nature for English language learners is printed as the ways of thinking, feeling, and acting that are common to most people. I think that kind of nails the definition that I use. We're working on our careers. We don't want to do anything like most people. We want to stand out from the crowds, from the other unloaders, loaders, selectors, fork drivers, leads, supervisors, even managers. We want to be noticed. We need to be the ones willing to work that extra hour, come in early, or learn that new task. Not only for the money, but for the experience. We want to keep moving towards that next position or promotion, right? I guess I always want to look beyond the human nature. I seek out the individual that's not following the programmed path in each of us, but waving others on to follow them and forge ahead. I think one of the larger responsibilities we have is to ourselves. We need to protect ourselves at all times, many times from ourselves. A quick example of how dangerous we can be to ourselves, and I've seen this repeated many times over the years. An employee may get frustrated, he's feeling the weight of the position, on his shoulders, and turns in their 2-week notice. His or her managers, of course, hate to see them go. I mean, they must be pleased with us because we're employed. One must assume we're doing a good job. The company starts looking for our replacement, to get them trained, and then the employee comes to the office saying something like, I'm not really unhappy, but I think you should have asked me what's wrong or maybe given me a raise or something. Don't do that. Communication is always a problem solver. Always go state your case to your manager before assuming that we're being taken for granted. And it's certainly, not necessarily right of our managers or supervisors, but think about it. When we're doing a good job and doing it really well, and if we're not constantly pushing ourselves in front of the management team's faces, isn't it possible that they get, kind of comfortable with us? I mean, that's one less area that they have to worry about. They know we're going to get our job done, and they know we're going to be doing it well. So it's not one of their worries right then. Now, if we go talk to them about our concerns, I can almost guarantee they'll recognize our concern and they'll address it immediately. Once we give them our notice, that opportunity all goes away. It all changes. We're all only human. Take a breath and ask for that meeting. Another thing we sometimes do to ourselves, and I found myself doing it many times throughout my career, is thinking I know the end game or the objective. A lot of times we're given a task or direction, and not having all the facts or information that's been passed on to the management teams, sometimes I've seen no sense in changing the process or procedures that I'm performing on a day-to-day basis. A quick example, I was working as the warehouse side of inventory control for a while, and I did that for about 2.5 years. I was directed to start writing down the locations where I found pallets of product. Their locations where the product was actually placed. Didn't see any sense in taking the time to do that, as the next pallet that would come in or would be received would just be placed somewhere else randomly within the warehouse. I was working in a non-directed warehouse at the time, meaning no product was sent to any specific slot and nothing was actually recorded in a computer program or even on paper. The forklifts just knew where the product was by kind of memorizing where they'd seen it as they were driving up and down the aisles. Little did I know that I could have saved myself several weekends of working if I had just made those records, recorded where I was finding product. We were installing a directed warehouse management system over the next several months, and boy did I wish I had followed direction. It's easy to get too comfortable in our task. It's important to seek explanations and ask questions, keep learning and educating ourselves. Another big responsibility we've mentioned it several times, and it's an important one when chasing advancement, is attendance. Yes, when an employee misses a day or is late, and of course it's necessary sometimes, but when we're not there, we are going to miss something, a learning opportunity or an explanation for something. Think about it. Every day a new challenge is presented to us regarding what we do. We experience different things every day that we're at work. And that's fine if it's just a job to us, but if we want to turn it into a career, we could be missing an opportunity to learn something nearly every day. I was in a meeting a while back. A facility was discussing recalibrating their warehouse, recubing several aisles for product flow reasons. There was a young supervisor sitting in on the meeting. She'd never heard a lot of the terms or reasoning discussed before, but I did notice she was very attentive. A few days later, I was asked to visit with her as she had a few questions. She explained that she'd done some research and wanted to make sure that she understood what she'd looked up and supposedly learned. I gotta say, I thoroughly enjoyed reviewing everything with her. She would have only been responsible for implementing any directions given to her for her team, yet she took it upon herself to educate herself to everything that was discussed, and now she is one of the leads for the project. She accomplished that for herself, participated, and will now have an accomplished experience to carry with her the rest of her career. I'm really excited as we enter the first quarter of a new year. A quarter is one of those financial or reporting words for every 13 weeks or 3 months of a 12-month period. I had a great fourth quarter of last year putting together the WAOC podcast, and I'm looking forward to this new year with each of you. Again, I'll promise to share my thoughts and opinions and work hard at gathering people for us to visit with that have the experience and the know-how to share with us in a positive way, helping us achieve our goals. I have several episodes in the works that I'm really excited about as well. A few of them to keep us on our path, discussing the many positions in warehousing, transportation, and operations, and several interviews with men and women performing the task. We'll let them explain how to be the absolute best at the job and hear their personal stories and maybe get some direction and tips with our advancement as well. Recently, I've been asked to talk about the many different forklift driver positions. We're working on that episode right now. And we're putting together a great interview with a VP of operations with a national sourcing company, another ops man that started on the docks and held many different positions, even ventured into the technology fields for a while. Oh, and staying on track this first quarter, we'll be talking about several other positions like pallet runners and pallet sorters, product packers, inventory control. We'll put something together on inbound receivers. We'll mix in a few interviews and hear how some of these positions can be used as springboards, giving us the experience needed to take those next steps. And we'll be putting together an in-depth dive into the safety arena and learn where all that department can take us as well. We hope to have a YouTube channel up and running shortly so we can share some specialized equipment as well. Maybe have some demonstration and diagram videos to help explain their use and operation. Remember now, be kind with us. We're ops people, not audio and video experts, but we'll do the best we can. I want to take a moment and thank each of you for visiting with us each week, and I hope we're helping in some small way with your path to success and the career that you can have until you want to retire with that nest egg to take care of your family. Make those 2017 goals, write them down, and check them off as you reach each one of them. Plan your path and integrate safety into everything you do, every aspect of your friends' and family's lives. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and like our Facebook page, participate in our discussions, and suggest topics. I'd love for you to send us an email address. We occasionally send out articles and printed information that you may find interest in. Remember, we have no widgets or products to sell you. All we're peddling is free thoughts and opinions. We're just having a blast learning from each other. Until next week, be prosperous and be safe out there. We all have others counting on us.